Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we are back on the website Interenchères, the French auction portal, and we're going to have a look at another Vichy auction. So this is the third Vichy auction that we're looking at, because they're having back-to-back sales, 31st of May to 2nd of June. This one is the last one in the series, the one which is ending on the 2nd of June, and this is the kind of like higher end kind of stuff. So this is kind of starting at kind of a few €1,000 kind of upwards. 392 lots in this one, because they do like to put in as many lots as possible. Buyer's premium is 24% as per the other auctions. Like I said, this is a French based auction, so as always check the terms and conditions and have a look if there are any shipping, import, export charges, etc, etc. And as we've got so many things to look at, I think we should probably get on with it and see what we have available. We'll have to try and invoke the translation as well, if we can find that. So let's go one back and try and get that on board. Let's see. After a bit of refreshing, we're back with the translation here, and we're on the first lot. So a violin by Charles Ressouche, made in Bordeaux, 1906, 357, length of back, 4,000 to 6,000 is the estimate here. We'll get a few more pictures now with these ones. So a nice violin by Gustave Villaume, made in Nancy, 1928, 2 to 2.5. A violin by Augustin Chapuis, made in Mirecourt around 1775-1780, 2 to 2,500. We saw a lot of these in the other auction, but it seems like this is a slightly better condition. A violin by Georges Apparout, Mirecourt, 1945, 2 to 2,500. Saying a beautiful Honoré Derazy violin, made in Mirecourt, 1830-1835, 5 to 6,000. There's a nice back on that for sure. And a violin by Francisco Espana, made in Barcelona, 1844, labelled Espana. That's very nice. Quite a long length back, 364, but 1,500 to 2,000. Quite interesting violin though. I do quite like the Spanish violins. Viola by Amédée Dodone, Miracle, 400 mil, 2.5 to 3,000 euros. And a violin by Paul Lorange, Marseille, 1936. Next back 356. Viola by Joseph Philippe Grandjean, Miracle, 1860-1865, 1,500 to 2,000. 385 is the length of back. Violin by Francois Cossat in Neufchâteau, 1860, 4 to 5,000 euros. 359 length of back. Another violin by Augustin Chapuis, made in Mirecourt, 1776, 4 to 5,000 euros here, so for a better example. Violin by Charles Jean-Baptiste Colin-Mazat, Mirecourt, 1920s-ish, 2 to 2,500 euros. These are always popular, as we've said before. Another Chapuis here from 1760, 4 to 5,000. There's quite a difference in some of the style in these. Violin by Charles Moynal, 2.5 to 3,000 euros. 1921. An interesting 19th century violin labelled Eugenio Praga, 360 length of back, 6,000 to 8,000 euros. Definitely curious. Violin made in the workshop of Émile Boulanger, Lyon, 1922, 2,000 to 2,500. Violin by Alfred Vidudez, Geneva, 1923, 5,000 to 6,000 euros. Violin by Francois Quatreau, Mirecourt, 1840-1845, 4,000 to 5,000 euros there. Violin by Richard Duke, London, 1779, 1,500 to 2,000 euros. An interesting violin by Nicolas Viaume, made in the Saint-Cécile model in Mirecourt, 1844. Finished and sold by Jean-Baptiste Viaume with the Viaume factory label, 12,000 to 15,000 euros there. And a violin by Louis Metissier, made in Mirecourt, around 1820, 1,800 to 2,000 euros. Interesting shape. Viola from the Derazy School, Mirecourt, 1870-1880, 2,000 to 2,500 euros. German viola, second part of the 18th century, 395 length of back, 4,000 to 5,000 euros. Violin by Victor Ordonneau, made in Paris, 1923, 2,000 to 2,500 euros is the estimate. Violin by Enrico Marchetti, made in Turin, dated March 9th, 1917, number 45, original label and signatures on the back, 359 length of back, 25 to 30,000 euros is the estimate there. Interesting looking violin. These all come with a Rampal certificate. Violin bow by Charles Louis Bazar, circa 1930, 1,300 to 1,500 euros. Viola bow by El Morazan Frère, circa 1940, 15,000 to 2,000 euros. Sorry, 1,500 to 2,000 euros. Violin bow by Francois Nicolas Varra, circa 1872, 5,000 to 6,000 is the estimate. Violin bow by Francois Lot, 1930s, 1,800 to 2,000 euros. Violin bow stick by Nicolas Malin, around 1845, 8,000 to 10,000 is the estimate there. Viola bow by Émile Francois Houchard, 1920s, 1,800 to 2,000 euros. Violin bow by Cunha Huri, 1,800 to 2,000 euros. Cello bow by Marie Louis Piernot, 1920, 5,000 to 6,000. Violin bow by Roger Francois Lot, made around 1970, 1,500 to 1,800 euros. Cello bow by Nicolas Simon, circa 1850, 3,000 to 4,000. Violin bow by Émile Houchard, in collaboration with father and son, around 1925, 1,800 to 2,000 euros. Violin bow by Louis Joseph Morazan, around 1920, 2,000 to 2,500. Violin bow stick by Dominique Henry, 4,000 to 5,000 euros, 1835. Violin bow by Marc Lebert, circa 1940, 1200 to 1500 is the estimate. Violin bow stick by Nicolas Malin, made around 1945, 8 to 10,000 euros is the estimate. Violin bow by Paul Emile Michel, around 1900, 1800 to 2000. Violin bow stick from the workshop of Dominique Picat, around 1865, 3 to 4,000 euros estimate. Violin bow by Victor Francois Fatigue, around 1925, 6 to 7,000 euros. Violin bow by Charles Nicolas Bazar, around 1900, 1200 to 1500 euros. Violin bow by Joseph Alfred Lamy Père, around 1900, 7 to 8,000 euros. Violin bow by Marcel Charles Lapierre, 1955, 1500 to 1800 euros. Violin bow by Charles Nicolas Bazar, around 1890, 1800 to 2000 euros. Violin bow by André Georges Richaume, 1950, 4 to 5,000. On to the next page there. Violin bow by André Morizot, around 1940, 1200 to 1500. A bow here by Viola bow by Vigneron Père, around 1905, 14,000 to 15,000 euros there. Back to some instruments. We've got a violin by Lebert Mircourt, 20th century, 1800 to 2000. Violin by Sébastien Quatreau, Marseille, 1850, 3 to 4,000 euros there. Interesting head on that one. Violin by Nicolas Visionnaire, Lyon, 1848, 4 to 5,000 euros there. An interesting violin by Carolus Henri, made in Paris, 1824, 8 to 10,000 euros. Violin by Gustave Villaume, 1943, 2 to 2,500. '20th century violin inspired by the Degani school. €2,500 to 3,000 euros. A violin by Paul Bailey, 1885, 6 to 8,000 euros. Late 19th century violin, probably Maurice Mermelot workshop, 1,500 to 2,000. A Gand and Bernadelle violin, made in Paris, 1888, 12 to 15,000. Nice back on that. Violin by Charles Jean-Baptiste Colomazat, Mircourt, 1921, 2,500 to 3,000. Violin by Émile Germain, Paris, 1906, 3 to 4,000. Quite a nice back actually on that. Violin by Jean Lavelo, made in Paris, 1929, 3 to 4,000. An interesting violin signed B. Carely in Tamaris in 1924, 2 to 2,500 there. The varnish is being quite affected on that. Interesting. Violin by Francois Louis Piquet, made in Paris around 1795 to 1800, 30 to 40,000. That's a nice looking violin. Some restrictions on this lot, some restorations. 358 length of back. Internet auction possible. No internet auction possible for this lot, please note. Conditions: 30% deposit if you wish to bid. Interesting. That's curious. Okay. Yep, nice instrument. Violin by Auguste Felice, made in Brussels, 1906, 3 to 4,000. Seven-eighth violin by Jules Grandjean, Miracle 1850, 3 to 5,000. Small size viola by Honoré Derazy, Miracle 1860, looking at 6 to 8,000 euros there. Violin by Léon Mougenot, Miracle 1936, 1,500 to 2,000 euros. Here's a violin by Riccardo Genovese, made in Lecco in 1927. Original label, 356 length of back, 20 to 25,000 euros is the estimate. 18th century French violin with a Benoit Fleury label, 2 to 3,000 euros there. French violin made around 1860 from the Violin school with a label from Mucatel, 4 to 4,500. That's the estimate there. Small size violin by Sebastian Bernardel, 1842. 348 is the length of back, so it's quite small. 8 to 10,000. Nice looking instrument, that for sure. German violin from the end of the 18th century, 2 to 2,500. Oh, here's an interesting one. An exceptional violin by Antonio Gragnani, made in Livorno in 1789. Label and several iron marks. Original, I think, scroll that's meant to be. Some worm, some kind of breaks, 356 length of back. Certificate of authenticity from Charles Ennell and condition report. So another one where you have to call up to register and put a deposit down, I think. So 50 to 60,000 euros on this one. Interesting looking violin. Now there's some certificate there and condition report, and there's a label. Oh, and some other images under UV. Oh, that's good. Good to see. I wonder if we did we miss any. Lots of pictures from that one. Maybe there was an extra picture we missed, but it should be fine. Okay, cello bow stick from the Simon school, circa 1860, 2 to 3,000. Violin bow by Simon Frère, 3.2 to 3.8 is the estimate. Violin bow by Marie-Louise Piano, circa 1925, 3 to 4,000. There's a bow by Louis Joseph Morizon Père, 1,200 to 1,500. Violin bow by Pierre Simon, made circa 1815. There's 15,000 to 18,000 there is the estimate. Violin bow by Prosper Colas, 1890, 1,500 to 2,000. Violin bow stick by Marie-Louise Piano, 1930, 3 to 4,000. Violin bow by Victor Francois Fetique, 1925, 6 to 8,000. Violin bow by Émile François Huchard Père, 12 to 1,500. Circa 1925. A viola stick and button by Jean-Paul L'Auxerrois, made around 1980, 4 to 5,000 euros there. Violin bow from the Etienne Pajot workshop in Snakewood around 1910, 1,500 to 2,000. Violin bow stick and button by Joseph Alfred Lamy Père, 1900, 3 to 3.5. Violin bow by Andre Vignon-Fille, 1910, 6 to 8,000. Violin bow by Roger Francois Lot, 1940, 1,500 to 1,800. Violin bow by Nicolas Remy Maire, around 1850, silver mounted, 25 to 30,000 euros there. A Hill violin bow by Arthur Scarvell, circa 1945. Interesting. 2,500 to 3,000 is the estimate. Violin bow by Claude Auguste Thomasin, around 1905, 3 to 4,000. Violin by Louis Joseph Maurice Ampere, around 1930, 1,500 to 1,800. Violin bow by Francois Jude Gauliard, made around 1830, 5 to 6,000. The Ivory Frog. Violin bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin, 1890, 1,800 to 2,000. Violin bow stick of Nicolas Duchesne II, around 1805, 2 to 3,000 is the estimate, and definitely needs a fair bit of work. Viola bow by Jacques Ordonneau, around 1965, 5 to 6,000 euros there is the estimate. And a violin bow by JTL, 1940s, 1,200 to 1,500. Oh, here's a big one here. A rare violin bow by Dominique Picat, around 1850. Signed Picat, silver mounted, 50 grams. Original fine trim, knot end, baguette. Another one that you have to kind of register by phone to bid and put a deposit down. 60 to 70,000 euros. It's a serious bow, that one. Oh, we've got a cello, a German cello for the end of the 19th century. 2 to 2,500. Mircore cello from the end of the 19th century. French cello made around 1720 from the Bouquet school. 5 to 6,000 euros. There is the estimate. So, taking its time. 3/4 cello from the 18th century German school, bearing the Kempter label. 3 to 4,000 is the estimate. Cello by Gustave Viaume, Nancy, 1935. 9 to 10,000 is the estimate. '20th century German cello with the Chevrier label. 2 to 2.5 is the estimate there. 7/8 cello by Charles Flambeau, Mircore, around 1780. 5 to 7,000 is the estimate there. Cello by Auguste Delivet, Paris, 1904. 6 to 8,000. A 20th century cello labelled made in Blanchard's workshop. 3 to 4,000. It's a cello by Sebastian Bernardel, Paris, 1839, Magini model. Another one that you need to register for. Interesting looking cello there. 40 to 50,000 euros. Like I said, this is the better auction, this one. Cello made in the workshop of Lebert Humber, Mircore, 1920s. 4 to 5,000 euros. Cello 7/8 by Francois Gavines, made in Paris around 1755 to 1760. 4 to 5,000 is the estimate there. Loose neck, as we can see. It's, still has some charm to it. Cello by Lebert Humbert, Mirecourt, 1912, 8 to 10,000. Mirecourt cello, late 19th century, 2 to 3,000. Good to see that there's a few cellos about, because there's usually not that many at the auctions. Nice cello by Louis Gersain, made in Paris around 1750, 1755, 15 to 20,000. Yeah, it's a nice looking thing, very good. 20th century Mirecourt cello, 2.5 to 3,000. Mirecourt cello with a Strad label, 4 to 5,000. Cello by Louis Laghetto, Paris, 1753, 8 to 10,000. Very interesting that these French cellos have the kind of little flower, these kind of 18th century ones on the scroll eye, or a lot of them do. Cello made in the JTL workshop, 2 to 3,000 euros there. Cello by Charles Jacot, made in Nancy around 1845, 1850. Another one that you have to sign up for. It's 30 to 35,000 is the estimate. It's a nice looking thing. Some kind of authorization there. I don't know quite what that is. A sale kind of receipt there. Interesting. A rare 4-string double bass by Charles Quinault, made in Le Pilot in 1947, 8 to 10,000. So, Rampal certificate. 20th century Mirecourt cello there with a Breton label, 3 to 4,000. '20th century cello with a Viome label, 8 to 10,000. Late 19th century 4-string double bass, 3 to 4,000 euros. Another big hitter, a violin by Jean-Baptiste Viome, ex-Soil, exceptional violin by Jean-Baptiste Viome, that belonged to Amédée Soil, made in Paris, 1852. This one 359 length of back there. Another one that you need to sign up to bid on. Certainly seems to be a nice looking one. There's a number inside, 1974. Lots of pictures inside. Back to a few more bows. Violin bow by JTL, 1200 to 1500. Violin bow by Joseph Varin, 2 to 3,000. Cello bow by Bernard Houchard, 1975, 6 to 8. Violin bow by Elmore Frère, 1955, 1500 to 2000. Violin bow by Eugene Nicolas Sartori, about 1910, 15 to 18,000 is the estimate there. Violin bow by André Morizon, 1940, 22 to 25. Violin bow stick from the Peugeot School, 1830. Frog and Button, same period, 3 to 4,000 is the estimate. Violin bow by André Georges Richomme, 1930, 6 to 8. Violin bow from the Simon School, 1865, 2.5 to 3. Violin bow by Alfred Joseph Lamy Père, around 1905, 8 to 10,000. Cello bow by JTL, 2 to 22. Violin bow by Marie-Louise Louis Piano, around circa 1925, 2 to 3,000. A violin bow by James Tubbs, circa 1870, 5 to 6,000. Violin bow by Charles Louis Bazin, 1930, 1500 to 1800. Cello bow by Joseph Arthur Vigneron, 1900, 8 to 10,000. Violin bow by Richard Herman Frechner, 1950, 1800 to 2000. Violin bow by Claude Auguste Thomasin, circa 1910, 3 to 4,000. Viola bow by Celestin Emile Clasquin, 1920, 5 to 6,000. Violin bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin, 1500 to 1800. And a violin bow by Jean Pierre Marie Persoit, around 1840, 8 to 10,000 euros there. Violin bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin, 1890, 2 to 2.5. Violin bow by Jean-Joseph Martin, around 1900, 4 to 5. Violin bow by Auguste Barbe, around 1890, we're looking at 5 to 6 on that one. Cello bow stick by Charles Louis Bazin, around 1920, frog and button, same period, 1800 to 2000. Another big hitter, violin bow by Etienne Pajot, made 1840, silver mounted, good condition, 35 to 40,000. So you need to contact them if you're interested in that one. Miracle violin from 1870-1880, Derazzi School, 2 to 2. Violin by Charles Enel, Paris, 1930, 3 to 4. Violin by Nicolas Vizenaire, Lyon, 1843, 3 to 5,000. Violin by Jean-Baptiste Colin-Mazat, 1912, 2 to 3,000. So an 18th century Italian composite violin replaced 19th century soundboard. Italian head probably by Carlo Bergonzi. Back and sides made in the style of Lorenzini. Some restorations, 355 length of back. Another one that you have to contact them for, 35 to 40,000 is the estimate there. Okay. Violin by Charles Jean-Baptiste Colin-Mazat, 1923, 2 to 2.5. French violin, second half of the 19th century, with a Sébastien Viaume label, 3 to 4,000. Kind of Maggini style. Violin by Georges Klotz, Mittenwald, 1917 at 25. 357 length of back, 48 to 55. It's a nice looking violin actually. Quite like that. Very good. Interesting 18th century violin, probably from the French or Flemish school, 3 to 4,000. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Violin by Enrico Melegari, Turin, 1891, 360 length of back, 20 to 25,000. Nice looking back on that one. See if there's any other pictures. No. Interesting violin made by Emile Fetique, Miracle, 1869, 3 to 4,000. Violin by Max Millant, 1977, 5 to 6,000. Viola by Charles Galliard, made in Paris 1850, 8 to 10,000. 392 length of back, so it's not too big. Another Mircore viola with a Strad label, 2 to 3,000 euro estimate. An interesting violin by Riccardo Genovese, Montiglio, 1930, 20 to 25,000, 355 length of back. Violin by Francois Cossin, Neufchâteau, 1850-1860, 4 to 6,000. A violin by Giuseppe de Lenz, made in Trieste, 1865, 5 to 6,000. A violin by Fabio Freddi, made in Todi, 1878, 7 to 8,000 is the estimate there. Nice scroll, actually, I really like that. That's very cool. Violin by Julien Levesque, Montlucon, 1920, 1500 to 2000. A rare and interesting violin by Mario Badocchi, made in Reggio Emilia, 1925, 15 to 20,000 is the estimate, 358. See length of back. Violin by Georges Apparu, Mircore, 1925-1930, 2.5 to 3,000. Viola by Francois Cossin, Neufchâteau, around 1850, 3 to 4,000. Interesting looking back on that one. Violin by Marcel Roux in Tours, 1921, 5 to 7,000. '20th century violin bearing the label and signature of J. Blanc in Paris, 2 to 3,000. Oh, this is another big one. A rare and interesting violin by Giovanni Francesco Presenda, made in Turin in 1826, with the label of Presenda, small crack on the top at the level of the bottom nut, small break in the F leg, small original chantereau on the back, good condition, 394 millimeters. Interesting. Certificate of guarantee from Mucatel and Deschamps. Rare and interesting viola, yeah. 150,000 to 180,000 euros, and you have to call up to bid. Yeah, very interesting. Don't not really seen many Presenda violas around, so that's definitely interesting. Very curious. And back to a few more bows. Violin bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin, 1500 to 1800 there. Violin bow by Emile Auguste Houchard, 1925, 4 to 5,000. Violin bow by Joseph Henri, 1855, 5 to 6,000. Violin bow by Emile Francois Houchard, 1920, 1800 to 2000. Violin bow by Etienne Pajot, circa 1825, another big hitter, 25 to 30,000. See the estimate there. Violin bow by Albert Nürnberger, 1920, 1200 to 1500. And violin bow by Jean-Pierre Gassot, around 2000, 1800 to 2000. Viola bow by Bernard Houchard, around 1955, 2 to 3,000. Violin bow by Emile Houchard, around 1920, so 1800 to 2000. Viola stick and button by Christoph Schaeffer, around 1990, 3 to 4,000. Violin bow by Charles Louis Bazin, 1930, 1800 to 2000. cello bow by, or in the style of Francois Nicolas Ferrat, 1860, 4 to 5,000. Violin bow by Jacques Ordonneau, made around 1970, 5 to 6,000. Violin bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin, around 1900, 1800 to 2000. Another big one here, violin bow by Dominique Picat, made around 1850, silver mounted, rear heels and button. We're at the bottom. This is another one that you have to contact them for. 40 to 45,000 euros is the estimate on that one. Violin bow made in collaboration with Usha, father and son, 1925, 1800 to 2000. Cello bow from the Mayer School, around 1860, 3 to 4,000. Violin bow by Claude Auguste Thomasin, around 1910, 5 to 6,000. Violin bow by Louis Joseph Morizon Père, 1800 to 2000 there. Go over to page 5. Violin bow stick and butter by Eugene Nicolas Sartori, around 1930, 8 to 10,000. Violin bow by Ivano Conti, made around 2000, 1500 to 2000. That's an interesting looking frog on that one, slightly curious. Viola bow made in collaboration with Victor Francois Fetique, around 1918, 3 to 4,000. Violin bow by Auguste Lenoble, made around 1875, 5 to 6,000. Violin bow by Jacques Ordonneau, a Picat copy, 2 to 3,000. Here's another big one. This is an exceptional violin bow by Nicolas Remy Mayer, made around 1850. Another one that you have to call them up for, 35 to 40,000 euros there. Back to some instruments. We're on a French violin made in Mirecourt, around 1865, 1870. 2 to 3,000 is the estimate. Violin by Charles Jean-Baptiste Colomazat, 2 to 3,000. Violin by Francois Cossin, Neufchâteau, 5 to 7,000. Violin by Victor Ordonneau, made in Paris, around 1920. Nice back on that, actually. An 18th century Italian violin, probably from the Florence school, with a Planis label, 354 length of back, 10 to 12 is the estimate on that. Very interesting. Viola by Paolo Antonio Testore, made in Milan around 1755-1760, with the Testore label, replaced head made in a copy, 397 length of back. That's very cool. Replaced head, 40 to 60,000 is the estimate. Interesting. 20th century viola, bearing the Anselmo Gotti label, 2.5 to 3. Mirecourt violin, made around 1870, 1880, Derazzi school, 3 to 3.5. An interesting early 20th century violin with the label for Verruccio Vagnolo, 1909, so 6 to 8,000 is the estimate for that. Violin by Just Derazzi, 5 to 6,000. Viola, probably by Johannes Georgius Thier, made in Vienna, 1765-1770. 10 to 12,000 is the estimate there. Interesting early 20th century violin with the Traverso Giuseppe label. 4,000 to 5,000 is the estimate. Violin by Charles Basile Claudel, made in Rennes, around 1880, 3,000 to 4,000. Viola by Augustin Chapuis, 1775 to 1780, 5,000 to 6,000. An interesting violin by Vincenzo Sannino, made in Naples, 1906, 357 length the back. Another one you have to call them up for, 40 to 50,000 euros on this one. Interesting scroll. Violin by Pierre and Hippolyte Sylvestre, made in Lyon, 1838, 15 to 18,000 on this one. Violin by Nicolas Jaumier, Miracle, around 1770, 3,000 to 4,000 is the estimate. Interesting violin, probably by the Gosselin Workshop, Paris, 1840, 7,000 to 8,000. Wow, that's an amazing back. That's really beautiful. That's very cool. Very nice indeed. Very good. Violin by Charles Jean-Baptiste Colomazat, 1888, 6,000 to 8,000. Nice looking back. A viola da braccio, probably made in Brescia around 1520 and transformed into viola. Newer replaced head. Interesting. Dendro by Peter Ratcliffe, around 1520. Interesting. 409 length of back, 20,000 to 25,000. It's definitely an interesting looking thing. I wonder how it sounds. A little bit bizarre. Viola, probably 17th century Italian, bearing the Mariani label. Invoice of Hill Viola, 25,000 to 30,000 is the estimate. Quite like that actually. It's pretty cool. Interesting scroll. Is there any other pictures on that? That's the Hill certificate. Interesting. Yeah, good auction so far. Beautiful Viola by Emile Boulanger, Lyon, 1922, 7,000 to 8,000. That's the estimate. 399 length of back. Shame about the hit to the scroll there. Violin by Auguste Felice, made in Brussels, 1924, 5,000 to 7,000 is the estimate. 19th century violin with a Decanet label, 4,000 to 5,000. Wow, great back on that one. That's lovely. Very nice looking violin. Nice scroll. And a violin by Anselmo Coletto, made in Turin, 1948, 357 length of back with Eric Blott certificate. 20,000 to 25,000 is the estimate on that. An interesting violin, probably by Michel-Ange Bergonzi, made in Cremona in 1755 with that label, Traces of Worm, 360 length of back. You've got to call them up for that one as well. 50,000 to 60,000 is the estimate on that. Very curious. Interesting. Okay. Some more bows, because why not? Violin bow by Nicolas Simon, 1,500 to 2,000. Violin bow by André Georges Richaume, 6,000 to 8,000. Violin by Eugene Nicolas Sartori, 1900, 7,000 to 8,000. Violin bow by Marcel Lapierre in 1958, 2.5 to 3. Violin bow stick from the Taut school, made circa 1840, 18 to 20,000 is the estimate on that. Violin bow by Charles Louis Bazin, 1920, 1500 to 1800. Cello bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin, around 1900, 2 to 22. Violin bow stick by Francois Picat, around 1850, 5 to 6. Violin bow by Charles Alfred Bazin, 1965, 1500 to 1800. Cello stick and button by Eugene Nicolas Sartori, 10 to 12,000. Violin bow stick from the Francois school, 2 to 3. Cello bow in the style of Fatigue, 2 to 3. Cello bow by Victor Fatigue, circa 1920, 4 to 5. Violin bow by Elmozon Frère, made around 1950, 1200 to 1500. Ooh, a very nice violin bow by Etienne Pajot, made around 1840, 15,000 to 20,000. Another one that you need to contact them for. And a violin bow by Cuneo Huri, 1200 to 1500 there. We'll carry on. Some more bows. Violin bow by Francois Lot, 1945, 2 to 22. Violin bow by Dominique Poisson, 4 to 5. Viola bow by Louis Joseph Morizot, 2.5 to 3. Violin bow by Emile Auguste Houchard, circa 1938, 8 to 10. Violin bow by Francois Lot, 1945, 1500 to 1800. A violin bow by Henri Louis Guillet, 1945, 4 to 5. Violin bow by Louis Thomasat, made around 1895, 5 to 6. Violin bow by Antoine Lagarde, 2 to 3. A rare violin bow by Georges Frederick Schwartz, made around 1820, 10 to 15,000 is the estimate for that. We're back onto some more instruments. Violin probably from the German school, 20th century, 1800 to 2000. Violin of the French school, around 1790, 1800, 4 to 5. Violin by Paul Bailey, Mircourt, 1881, 2.5 to 3. A viola by Fernando Ferroni, made in Florence, 1936, got 18 to 20,000 on that. 402 is the length of back. A very beautiful violin by Pierre Hell in Lille, 1925, 357 length of back. 18 to 20 is the estimate. Interesting and rare violin by Neldo Ferrari, made in Bologna in the workshop of his master Ansaldo Poggi, 1984. 357 length back. This violin is reproduced in Dimitri Gingin's book The Modern Italian Violin Makers, volume 2, page 97. 20 to 25,000 is the estimate there. A probably Italian 20th century violin, made in the style of Scarabotto, 356 length of back. 4 to 5,000 is the estimate. Violin by Paul Jambard, Paris, 1914, 6 to 8. Violin by Lebert Humbert, Mircourt, 1920, 1800 to 2000. A German viola, probably by Leopold Widom, Nuremberg, 1800, 420s length of back, 12 to 15,000 they're looking for this. French violin around 1730 to 1740 with an Armati label, 354 length of back, 3 to 4,000 is the estimate on this. Violin by Jean-Baptiste Picat, made in Paris 1885, 4 to 5,000. A 20th century double bass, probably by Natale Carletti, 1947, 15 to 18,000 is the estimate. A 20th century cello with a Bella Fontana label, 4 to 5,000. Violin by Claude Pirot, Paris 1807, 12 to 15,000 is the estimate. French violin from the Eurasia School, 1840, 3 to 3.5. Violin by Augustin Blanchy, Nice, 1897, 3 to 4. Violin by Charles Bruguière, Paris 1912, 5 to 7. French violin from the beginning of the 20th century, 2.2 to 2.5. 18th century Italian violin, probably from the Milanese school, bearing the label of Antonio Maria Battiazza, 357 length of back, 15 to 20 is what they're looking for. Slightly interesting looking thing. French violin, Mirko, around 1770, from the Fribrunet school, 2 to 3,000. There is the estimate. Violin by Émile Menesson in Reims, around 1880-1885, 3 to 4,000. Violin of the Crescent Francais, 5 to 7. An interesting late 19th, early 20th century violin, probably of the Italian school, with a Roncini label, 2 to 2.5. Yeah, I quite like that. It's not too bad. There's another interesting violin here. Interesting violin by Paolo Castello, Genoa, 1778, with a Castello label. Replaced head. Heel changed. A few other funny bits. Another one that you need to contact them for. 40 to 45,000 is the estimate on that one. A violin by Jean-Yves Matter, circa 1990, signed by the designer C. Herbert, 2 to 3,000. Oh, I quite like that. Well, not the head, but I like the frog. I like the frog design. The head is a bit weird. Viola bow by Elmo Zonfrère, made circa 1940, 1800 to 2000. Violin bow by Claude Auguste Thomasin, 3 to 4,000. Violin bow by Nicolas Remy Maire, 1840, 20 to 25,000 there. Violin bow most likely made by Christian Wilhelm Knopf, 1820, 2 to 2.5. Violin bow by Émile Francois Huchard, 1800 to 2000. Violin bow by Bernard Georges Louis Millant, 1967, 6 to 8. Violin bow stick by André Chardon, 1935, 2 to 3. Violin bow by André Georges Richomme, 1935, 6 to 8. Violin bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin, 1880, 1800 to 2000. Violin bow by Francois 1945, it's 1800 to 2000. Violin bow by Victor Francois Fatigue, 1925, 6 to 8. Violin bow by Marc Lebert, 1930, Lupo model, 2 to 2,500. And a violin bow by Jacob Uri, made circa 1820, 20 to 25,000. There's the estimate. Some more. Cello bow by Charles Nicolas Bazar, 1890, 2 to 3. Violin bow stick, workshop of Francois Picat, 2 to 3 there. Violin bow by Claude Thomasat, 1900, 6 to 8. Another interesting frog there. Cello bow by Frank Darguin, 1990, 2 to 3,000 there. Violin bow by Claude Auguste Thomasat, 3.5 to 4. Violin bow by Celestin Emile Clasquin, 1800 to 2000. Violin bow by Louis Joseph Morison Père, 4 to 4.5. Viola bow by William Johnson, circa 1937, for W.E. Hills and Son, ivory and gold, 7 to 9,000 there. Cello bow by Louis Joseph Morison Père, 1925, 1800 to 2000. And a violin bow by Pierre Simon, 1845, 25 to 30,000. Back to the instruments again. 19th century French violin, 2 to 3,000 is the estimate there. Violin by Louis Fernand Billetet, Paris, 1922, 3 to 4,000. Violin by Émile Germain, Paris, 1905, 6 to 8. Violin by Léon Mougenot, Miracle, 1930, 2 to 3. And a viola by Giovanni Tedesco, Naples, 1931, with the Tedesco label. Various breaks, restored top, 419, length the back, another one that you have to contact to bid, 25 to 30,000 euros for that. Oh, that's actually quite a ridiculous amount of pictures on that one. Probably missed lots of pictures of some of the other lots as well, but you can always follow the link yourself and have a look. These are kind of internal shots, so not actually that exciting, to be honest. Violin, probably German school, around 1770, 1780, 3.5 to 4. Interesting scroll. Violin by Émile Menesson, 3 to 4. Violin by Jean-Baptiste Lancôme, Miracle, around 1863, 6.5 to 7, sorry. Modern cello, probably from Eastern Europe, 2.5 to 3,000. Curious that that's in this sale, but okay. Viola by Marcel Vatelot, Paris, 1951, 8 to 10,000. It's the estimate, 418, length of back. Interesting violin by Nicolas Denisot, Tours, 1847, 1800 to 2000. Interesting F-holes, quite broad. Violin by Nicolas Viaume, 1850, 4 to 6,000 there. Five-string double bass by Christian Nogaro, end of the 20th century, 6 to 8,000. And violin by Prosper Cabasa, made in Miracle, 1860, 2 to 3,000. An interesting viola from the Renault and Chatelain workshop, 1787, 10 to 12,000 is the estimate. 410 length of back. Violin by Sébastien Auguste Deroux, Paris, around 1900, 4 to 5,000. Violin by Roger and Max Millant, Paris, 1961, 5 to 6,000 there. Viola by Sylvestre and Mocatel, Paris, 1903, 10 to 12,000 is the estimate there. 407 length of back. An 18th century French violin with a Bergonzi label, head replaced, 1500 to 2000. French viola, second part of the 18th century, with a Salomon label, 407 length of back, 4 to 5. Violin by Lucien Humbert, Paris, 1930, 3 to 4. Violin by Jean Barre, Angers, 1972, 4 to 5,000. And another violin by Enrico Marchetti, around 1925, 355 length of back, 15 to 18 they're looking for that. A viola by Carolus Henri, Paris, 1849, 6 to 8, 382 length of back. It's quite small. Interesting Italian violin made in the style of Meligari. So 12 to 15,000 is the estimate of that. Violin bow of the Picat school, 2 to 3,000 there. Violin bow by William Watson, around 1945, Hill and Sons, 3 to 4,000. That's like a tortoiseshell frog there. Violin stick and butter by Jules Fatique, 1920, 5 to 6,000. Violin bow from the Malines School, 1860, 2 to 2.5. Violin bow by Nicolas Remy Maire, 1840, 20 to 25,000 there. Violin bow by Émile François Huchard, 18 to 2,000. This is an interesting one here. Double bass bow by Gilles de Holt, around 1995. Curious looking frog there. 2 to 3,000 is the estimate. That's definitely quite arty. Cello bow by Georges Léon Lamifi, 1910, 5 to 6,000. Violin bow by L. Morizot, 1955, 1,200 to 1,500. Violin bow by Nicolas Samor, 1845, 10 to 12,000. Then we have a violin bow by Émile Auguste Huchard, 1935, 8 to 10 on that one. Another curious one. Violin bow by Stéphane Tomashot, circa 1990, 4 to 5,000. That's definitely an interesting looking bow for sure. Not seen one quite like that before. Cello bow by Paul-Émile Miquel, 1875 to 1880, 6 to 8,000. And some more bows. Cello bow from the workshop of Pierre Guillaume, around 2,000, 2.5 to 3. Cello bow by Charles Picat, 1900, 15 to 18,000 there. Violin bow by Marie-Louise Piano, 1940, 1800 to 2000. Violin bow by Charles Claude Husson, 4 to 5,000. Violin bow by Eugene Nicholas Sartori, 1915, 18 to 20,000 there. Violin bow by Claude Joseph Francois, circa 1830, 15 to 20,000 there. Cello bow by Eugene Nicholas Sartori, another one that you have to phone to bid, 30 to 35,000 there, so that's a substantial one. Violin bow by Émile François Huchard, 1800 to 2000. Violin bow by Claude Joseph Francois, around 1830, 3 to 4. A violin bow by Bernard Georges Louis Millant, around 1968, 10 to 12,000 there. Looks really quite like a hill frog there, doesn't it? And violin bow by Eugene Nicholas Sartori there, circa 1930, 18 to 20,000. A rare cello bow by Dominique Picat, circa 1845, silver mounted. Another one you have to call up for, 50 to 60,000 is the estimate on that. Looks like we're back into the instrument territory again. So we've got a violin by Jules Levesque, made in Rodlecon, 1930, 1600 to 1800 there. An interesting violin by Albert Caressa, made in Paris, 1923, 4 to 5,000 there. Violin by Joseph Hell, Lille, 1892, got 8 to 10,000 there. It's a kind of Maggini model type thing. A probably 18th century Italian violin in the style of Catenari, with an Amati label, 351 length of back, 3 to 3.5 is the estimate. A beautiful violin by Claude Austin Mirmont, Paris, 1877, 15 to 20,000. Violin made in the workshop of Alexandre Delannoy, 2 to 8,000. Sorry, 8 to 3,000 even. An interesting 20th century violin, 3 to 4,000. Violin made in the workshop of Paul Blanchard, 5 to 7. That's wrong one, just done that one. Violin made in the Jean-Jacques Pages workshop in Mirecourt, around 1990, 2 to 3,000. Another violin by Joseph Hell, Lille, 1886, 13 to 15,000 there. Violin by Francois Cossat, Neufchâteau, around 1860, 2.5 to 3,000 there. A French viola, around 1770, 1775, 3 to 4,000. Length back, 398. And violin by Amédée Dodouin, 2 to 3. Viola by Vincent Shreve, made in Nantes, 1994, 3 to 4,000. Interesting craquelature there on the on the whole thing really. Violin by Sebastian Bernardel, Père, in Paris, 1865, 25 to 30,000 there. Violin by Amédée Dodouin, Mirecourt, 1930, 2 to 2.5. '20th century violin, probably from Neapolitan school, 4 to 5,000 there. Interesting cello by Amédée Dudouin, 1941, 10 to 12,000. '19th century French violin with a Bernadelle label, 2.5 to 3,000 there. Violin by Honoré Derazy, Mirecourt, 1840-1845, 8 to 10,000. Another French Mirecourt violin from the Derazy school, 1500 to 2000. Nice violin from Emil Horth and Sons, made in Copenhagen, 1941, 6.5 to 7,000 there. And a violin by Giuseppe Giachetti, made in Troyes in 1936, 4 to 5,000 there, 357 length of back. French violin there, 1770, with a Le Pileur label, 1200 to 1500 there is the estimate. Early 20th century violin, Neapolitan style, the Galliano label, 6 to 8,000 there is the estimate. On to a few bows here again. We've got a violin bow by Arthur Richard Bultitude, 1930, W.E. Hill and Sons there, 8 to 10,000 there. That's a fancy Hill bows there, the top of the line ones. Violin bow by Jean-Joseph Martin, 2 to 2.2. Violin bow by Francois Jude Goullard, around 1830, 5 to 6,000. Violin bow stick from the workshop of Francois Picat, around 1850, 2 to 500. Cello bow stick by Nicolas Mayer, 20 to 30,000 there, made around 1850. Interesting looking one. Violin bow by Jean-Joseph Martin, 2.5 to 3,000. Violin bow by André Richaume, around 1930, 7 to 8. And violin bow by Marc Lebert, around 1950, 1500 to 1800. Cello bow by Joseph Alfred Lamy, 8 to 10. Cello bow by Emile Houchard, pair, 2 to 3. Violin bow by Francois Lupo II, circa 1820. Very nice. 20 to 25,000 is the estimate on that one there. And then I think we're on to the last page here. A few more bows, so we're finishing on bows. We've got a violin bow by Charles Espy, circa 2000, 5 to 6. Violin bow by Marcel Lapierre, 1950, 1500 to 2000. Violin bow stick by Dominique Picat, around 1835, 20 to 25,000 there. Here's some interesting violin bow stick by Nicholas Leonard Tort, made around 1800. 4 to 5,000 is the estimate. Interesting looking thing. A bit of repair work there. Here is a violin bow by Jacob Uri, 1820. It's another one you have to call into, 45 to 50,000 euros estimate there. That's a big one. Violin bow by Justin Poisson, 1900, 4 to 5. Cello bow by Charles Nicolas Bazar, 2 to 3,000 there. Is the estimate, and I think we're on the final one here, which is a violin bow by Eugene Nicolas Sartori, 1900, 18 to 20,000. So there you have it. This is the fancy auction of Vichy. Some really interesting stuff, actually. Really interesting bows and interesting violins, violas, cellos, the whole works really. Some really curious stuff, so definitely worth looking at. I always find these auctions maybe a little bit long, a few too many items, but definitely interesting and worth checking out. So link will be in the description as normal. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Ciao. Many thanks for tuning in to the Musical Instrument Investigator. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please like, subscribe and turn on notifications, and watch out for the next video coming soon.